Guys, is it true? Yes, here it is. The broadcast is live. Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh, we're here. It's Tuesday, December 29th. And we're doing it and it's happening. And I hope that everyone is well who's listening in. And buckle up because we don't even really totally know what we are going to talk about today. Although I always come prepared with a million questions because I have so many always. And I'm nosy and I feel like I have that gift. So why not share it with the world? And maybe I'll just let folks introduce themselves. Oh, Levi, you have a beverage. Can I just pause before you actually introduce yourself to say I'm a little bit late today? Like I just showed up in my house because I was at the LC because I was like, oh shit. There's going to be a 2-day period where buying alcohol is going to be like a total sketchy moment in time. And so I was like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. So I went in and I got in my little lineup because they're like a fucking police state there. And the guy in front of me was like, make sure you do 2 meters back because I got COVID. I just found out. What? I know. I was like, so we're just like, we both had the same idea. I feel like we're both like buckling down. And I was like, fair enough. Like, what are you supposed to do when you have to go into a 2-week quarantine? And you're like, anyways. So he was like hilariously cautious, which I appreciated. And also I was like, dude, maybe somebody could pick up your booze for you. Like, I could go in for you right now. Anyway.
Yeah, like you should have just been like, here, actually just go to your car and give me your list. While I'm getting this, you can transfer to this email.
I was so surprised. I was surprised for 2 reasons. One, I was surprised because I was like, if I had COVID and absolutely need to go to the alcohol store, I would not tell a stranger. One, like never. I would be like, I'm great. I'm fine. Like that would for sure be a thing. And then two, I feel like I was just so surprised that that was the thing he was just doing. Anyways, so that's fine. But I did buy, that is not even the point to my story. The point is I found a tiny can of wine with a giant unicorn on it. And I don't even know what the hell it is, but I bought it because I was like, oh, I could have a freaking like boozy unicorn beverage during COVID Convos, but I was in such a rush to get the computer on. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so that is, you get all of that story from Levi drinking out of that delicious looking whatever it is.
Water in the Wonder Woman thing.
Wonder Woman.
I'm pretty sure it's Quinzar's that she left here.
Oh my God.
A post party or a drag road trip. Do
you know who's obsessed with Wonder Woman? Freaking Marsha Anderson and the Anderson girls. Obsessed. So, she's not here, so let's just bring her in that way to be like, we're drinking out of a Wonder Woman bottle here.
I was never a DC Comics person. I was more of a Marvel gal.
Oh my gosh, same here.
Yeah, me too.
Storm and Rogue. I mean, those are my two.
Yeah.
Stealing people's power, that's cool. That's the shit.
Oh my God. Listen, I have these. I'm so happy that we're on this superhero moment in time because I have to say that I even have a question about if you were a superhero, what would your 3 superhero powers be? So
3?
3. Start thinking about it and you can introduce yourselves, tell the people why you're here, and then we'll just get into chitter chattering. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to start?
Oh, neither of us. We're both introverts. Yeah. Oh neither of us wants to start.
Christ. All right, Levi, tell us who you are.
Hello, everyone. I am Levi Foy, and I am the executive director at Sunshine House, and I moonlight as a bunch of other things at nighttime in the normal times. But right now, all I do is care for fish and set up Christmas trees because I'm gay.
I mean...
that's all I got. I don't know. I do want to mention that today is the 130th anniversary of the Wounded Knee Massacre. So if you don't know what that is, check that out because it's a really, really important and significant event in Indigenous history in the Americas for a lot of reasons. But that's my one somber thing today because I think it's also significant because it happens in that time between Christmas and New Year's when everything kind of shuts down, but there's still a real world happening. And I was just That's pretty it. But I'm also really disconnected from everything. I'm not into social media these days. I don't even really pay attention to the news that much anymore, other than super gonorrhea.
Oh my God. Yeah, we're just going to put a pin on that because super gonorrhea is going to play into this evening for sure.
But I'm busy at work. I do a lot of things, but I'm really, really trying to just take it easy and get through this winter because this has been really hard.
Mm-hmm. Totally. All right, awesome. Oh my gosh. And I heard you got one of your employees a freaking gecko or a tank. No, a tank.
Oh, no, that was Rudy. Rudy
didn't.
Yeah, Rudy did. Rudy gave me all these things and then I gave them away in this. That's just how we do.
Oh my God.
But so then what I did is because we can't go, like you can't actually go to the pet store together. Mm-hmm. So then what I did is I bought all the things that they need to start it for Christmas.
Okay, well I'll tell you what, Monique is so excited.
It's really, really addicting.
I feel like if I was contact tracing the reptile explosion in the queer community, that freaking Rudy is patient zero, y'all. And I feel like, exactly, Jody just posted, I'm also getting geckos from Rudy. Like, you know what? It's a good thing this isn't a like infection control issue because honestly, everyone's got a tiny little lizard.
But also this is full circle for me because back in March or April, beginning of April, Monique and I were sitting in Sunshine House and we were just like, this was just the beginning of it all. And I'm like, what am I going to do with my time? And then they were like, I don't know, find a hobby. And so I was like, so then I spent the next couple of days and I was like, what if I get fish? And then they were like, could you do it? And I was like, I don't know, I could try. And then so I started and then I continued. And now I'm bringing other people into the fold. But like, Rudy and Rowan were crucial.
It's true, actually. It's like, and I mean, I'm interested to know between Rudy and Rowan, who started? Is it like a chicken and the egg situation? Hard to say.
I wonder. I feel like their relationship may have been brought together like via like amphibians and
and like creating ecosystems and shit like that. Yeah.
That's the romantic story I tell myself about the Rowan Rudy friendship, but who knows?
I mean, listen, it benefited a lot of homosexuals in Winnipeg who are like, what do we do in the middle of a pandemic? And apparently fish and lizards are super fucking gay.
Yeah.
Plus you all name them after drag queens. Like Jody's freaking geckos are named what? Like Shangela and who's the other one? Post in the comments, Jody. Anyways, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. On Christmas Eve, I'm pretty sure Rudy drove to Beausejour to rescue a bearded dragon that now lives. So like our basement is just like an animal, like a reptile rescue center for people who can no longer care for their reptiles. They come to live here, and then they eventually get sent out into the queer universe. So,
I mean,
it's a beautiful story.
It's just like mutual aid for amphibians. You know, we're doing the best we can here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right, and Jody's other gecko's name is Bianca Del Rio. So there you go, Bianca and Shangela. I mean, truly, they are very famous drag queens. They deserve to be named, like lizards deserve to be named after them, I'd say. Somebody also, somewhere in these comments, or maybe it was Jude, said, what would your queer gecko name be?
Oh, great question.
Seriously, important questions here on COVID Convos. What would my queer gecko name be?
I let my nieces name the frog. So the frog is named Pika. Pika, yeah.
Did you know that pica is also a condition where people eat things that are not tended to be words being food? So the condition. So it's like often an iron deficiency, but if you eat ice or like eat dirt, things like that, it's called pica. Look at how, even though I do drugs and sex as a nurse for a living, I still know about weird conditions that come up for folks. And I mean, not that weird, actually. Like, I spent a lot of years eating ice, and I'm just, it is what it is. But
Is Davey going to name the gecko Levi?
oh my God, Davey, the answer is no gecko for you. But actually, we should all name our lizards Levi. That's exactly what this Scorpio queen needs from us.
No, you name your like scorpions Levi. That makes sense.
Oh my gosh.
Name scorpions and the unidentifiable ghosts in your house. Those can be called Levi. What? You geckos? No. They can be Karen.
They can be Karen.
They can be Karen and Rudy.
Oh my God. Okay, we're going to think of our gecko names. You guys should put down your gecko names in the comments, and maybe we'll move along to let Karen say hey, and then we'll circle back as needed, since apparently now instead of talking about who's not getting laid ever, we're talking about lizards. So same.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Karen.
Hello, I'm Karen, and I'm the acting executive director of the Human Rights Commission here in Manitoba during the day. I'll use Levi's introductory format. That's what I do during the day, and I used to do a bunch of things at night, like organize with QPOC Winnipeg, DJ, etc. Now I just quilt at night. So I also have adopted weird queer hobbies during this pandemic, like obsessive compulsive sewing. So that's what I do during the evening.
Which we've all benefited from, like so many of us. In fact, Karen brought this quilt over that she made to my house that actually I feel like says hi in the exact same font as whatever's behind you.
Yeah.
I was like, a quilt that exuberantly says hello to me is really a good vibe for me. So it worked out very well. It was beautiful.
I did make my COVID Convo co-hosts each a quilt reflective of their personalities. So yeah, yours was friendly, scrappy, and colorful.
Yeah.
And Levi's was like a little tradish. Like a little traditional.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yours was like also like colorful and interesting. I don't know what Levi's doing right now. Yeah. So, and then both Uzoma and Marcia got like structured and like centered and like dignified quilt.
Oh yeah, Levi's bringing it. Okay, yes, I'm gonna get my quilt too in a second to show you guys. But let me just also say that this quilt gift giving like allowed me and my brother to like deep dive down some birth charts for astrology, because we were like, these quilts are like bang on, and then had to have a moment to be like, does Karen have some Virgo in their chart, or like, anyways, so we delved in deep. So now and they do, and she does. So there you have it. But yes, I will show you my.
I really loved the quilt, and it made me feel so loved, and it was so kind. And then I was like, well, shit, I'm a shitty friend. So I don't know, but it's really beautiful.
It's such a Leo reward, though, to give the thing and then to have the people be like, we are so here for it, and also show it off on the internet.
100%. This is why I did it. No, I'm just kidding. For this feature spot on COVID Convo.
So, Cake also got into quilting this year in 2020, and so we were just both gushing and fawning over Karen's like pattern selections and how really good like everything is. Like, it's so beautiful. They're so unique. Well done.
We're impressed. Duly impressed. All right. So should we talk a little bit about how COVID things have been like, kind of like how maybe we should talk a little bit about how we did the holidays, and then maybe a little bit about how people are feeling about things COVID related right now. What's happening in your neck of the woods, Karen, with like, have you guys, what's happening?
Yeah, well, holidays wise, it was really quiet. Like, it kind of felt like any other day in a way. Like, didn't really see anybody, did a couple Zoom calls, but that was about it. We put up a tree and made like our house feel holiday-ish, but otherwise, there were no big events. And that was kind of good. Like, I think I said that on the last COVID Convos. It was nice actually to get a bit of a respite from the like manicness and like challenges that sometimes the holidays can bring, that I feel like queer folks especially, we feel like around like the ambivalence and sometimes difficulty about being around a lot of family. So it was nice to have a bit of a break, quite frankly, but also sad. Like, I really did miss seeing my mom, and it was her first, like, she worked in the airline industry for a long time. So this was like her first Christmas being retired, and Christmas Eve is her birthday. And so it was like her first year being retired. So actually being home on her birthday, but we couldn't actually spend it together. So that part of it was for sure a bit heart-wrenching, but yeah, it was very quiet, and I think that's good. That's what we were supposed to do. So I feel good about that. And like, we followed, you know, the rules, but definitely in like a little bit in the neighborhood, and just getting a sense that, you know, maybe people were gathering a bit, at least outdoors. And it was hard. And so it's hard to know whether there will be any outcome of the last week, right, in terms of numbers, and whether we'll see like a surge. Right now, we feel like there's a bit of a comfortable lull in new cases, but that also could be because people aren't going to get tested or what have you. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 2 weeks as a result of this week that we're having right now.
Totally. How about you, Levi?
Well, this time of year is always really hectic work-wise because, like Karen said, like, so many people are going through such a hard time at Christmas time. So at Sunshine House, we really try to make it special. We typically actually do our winter feast either on solstice or else in January, because there's usually so much happening in the community that in January, when days are still long, like the days are still short and the night is still long, and there's not a lot of excitement around, that's usually when we do things. But this year we did it a little different, and we did it on the 23rd, and it was chaos, but it was so fantastic. Like, we were still able to have some folks come in, pick up, and then Monique did a really good job of organizing drivers and getting things delivered. And so we delivered a bunch of hampers and stuff and gifts, and like the team did so good at like organizing. It was so like, I used to get so mad at Margaret for like when we would do events, because she would always just be there and she'd be like, what can I do? And then that was me on the 23rd. I was just like, what can I do? And so I like ended up just doing, like, everyone was just doing such a good job. I was like, oh, okay, fine. I'll just go upstairs. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go run errands. Fuck.
Yeah, that's good though.
It was really good, and it was so nice. And then people got like, and then we all took, like, most people took 4 days off. Yeah. Our furnace did go out on the weekend, so Rowan and I were rowing. Rowan was tinkering. I went down there and I turned on the light, and I was like, yeah, this is fucked. Turn off the light, Rowan.
I know. Like, call a guy. Call a guy, everybody.
That's what we did. So we ended up calling some people, and they came yesterday and they fixed it. So we didn't have to shut down or anything, which was nice because we were still able to open today and yesterday. And then personally, like, it was like kind of an emotional day, but not really, because we've been so busy. It was nice to just like wake up on Christmas, and just, I was home alone, but I did feel really loved, because like some people dropped off presents, and I got to open some things on Christmas morning, even if it was by myself. And I'd never actually done that. I've never actually been alone at Christmas. So it was just me and my cats and my coffee and video games, and then later on in the evening, Heather came home and like hung out, and so that was it. But yeah, it was weird. It was just weird. We did some Zoom calls too, and I think this was only the 5th Christmas of my entire life where I didn't wake up at my mom's house in some state or condition. usually hungover, but this one was just me at home and texted some people, called a few folks. So that's it.
Sounds like Christmas.
Yeah.
It's a weird time. Like we had the, like, I feel like lots of us had, I don't know. I love, maybe I don't love, I wouldn't say I love Christmas, but I love like decorating things sparkly, and I love giving people presents. Like I'm super into it. I like glitter. Like it really, there's a lot of things like boxes that get ticked around the holidays for me. And also, I have been over the past, like, I also hate it in a lot of ways because of the ways that my family has like insisted on things going, like just like too much in one day to get done. Like everything gets smashed in there. No one's really having like, it's tricky, right? Because like everyone's tired and mostly we just want to go to bed. Nobody wants to really eat a turkey dinner, but we do it and whatever. So this Christmas was complicated, like was good in the way that it allowed us to change things a little bit, but also it was just a first hard Christmas. Like my granny passed away, and so this is the first Christmas without her. My uncle, who's like I saw every week for dinner, also passed away, and so like not having him or her there. And then this is the first Christmas where I am like me and Jess are not together, like where Georgie and I are, like Georgia was at my house for the week before Christmas and then left on Christmas Day in the evening to go to Jess's. And like we still all did stuff together, but it was still different and weird and hard and complicated and like queer and family of origin shit coming up. And like, it was just kind of that moment where it's like, okay, we're just going to do this and it's going to be kind of okay. And it's going to be kind of shitty. And I might have like, and I'm just like, it was kind of good and it was kind of shitty. And my family did, because there's none of us left, because there's literally me, John, my mom and dad, and then Jess and Georgia. We are the right size for an outdoor like meetup. So we dragged my mom and dad to the park on Christmas Day and had a little fire and then gave them a gift there. And so we did that outside at Whittier Park, and it was really freaking nice and not very stressful. And then we did not make a fancy freaking dinner. Like I slapped a casserole in and was still like, I don't even want to eat this casserole. Can you all just leave the house, please? And so that was kind of the way that we did it in this like weird kind of way. And I was thinking, and then I was talking to somebody else at the place where I work who was like, oh, I think a lot of people saw people over the holidays. Like, and I was like, nobody I know did that actually. Like everyone I know was like public health reliant. Like we did the thing, right? Like what Karen was saying, like we followed the rules and whatever. So I was like, I think my bubble and other people's bubbles are a little bit different. So we'll see how it all shakes down. Fingers crossed. Yeah, it was like weird and fine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like so many people had, like you, were just like navigating big life changes in the midst of also dealing with everything just being kind of turned upside down and like limited physical contact, limited like, emotional
Seriously,
reservoirs.
If we're in an apocalypse, please cut us a break somewhere else,
Yeah. So I'm like, if like we're all on out the other side of this thing, like of the holidays, which has felt like this big thing hanging over us. And so we did it like in whatever shape we've done it. It's great because we're like, what you said, Margaret, around like all of the different dynamics that you've had to navigate over the holidays, like good grief.
And I'm still so grateful, like it's still like actually not that big a deal, all things considered, like given where this province is at, given where all of my like friends who are working in healthcare are at, like the freaking like, it's just a lot, and like watching my friends like who are nurses posting about like, please stay home, and knowing that the results of our actions, like our direct, like people are not going to come out of this without some stuff going on for them, like whether it's like losing family or whether it's losing patients or like community or whatever, like whatever it is, like it's just like it's a real deal, and so hoping that many people home. Did weird Zoom meetings that were kind of awkward, but okay,
Exactly.
Oh my God, so weird. Anyway, and then kept going. Like I just also kept working. Like because the truth is, I was like, man, winter's gonna close, and like Sunshine House, where I'm like, if people don't have access to some stuff like over the holidays, we just are gonna like that's not correct. It's not the right way. So
I think what I saw, I didn't see a complete. I did see some stuff happening over the holidays, like smaller gatherings of people, and I don't know. It's so hard, and I think people. I actually I don't even know what people were thinking by doing these things, but I do know that so many people were just like craving something, and so they were. I don't know. They were taking kind of cue from lowering case numbers, and they were using that to justify it. They're like, well, it's not as bad as it was before. And I'm like, well, the case numbers tell one part of the story. You still want to look at like our positivity rates. Like those are pretty key. And from what I understand, I don't know, I could be wrong. Marsha could slap me in the mouth next week.
No, Marsha would say that's correct. Like our test positivity rates are too high. That is
they're still way too high.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And the messaging even around like I don't know, like I don't pay attention too much, but didn't the health minister say like he did say something that was like a little too hopeful for my liking? It was like, yeah, well, we're beating it, and it's like, no, don't say that yet. Don't say that at Christmas time, because a lot of people are going to latch onto that. But whatever.
Yeah, this is a long haul. So like, just to be clear, like there are things that we can be hopeful about. And also it's going to be a long, long journey that is still quite uncertain in many ways. And so the things that we can do right now are like continue all of the things that we've been talking about this whole time, especially given that there's some shifts in like the variations in COVID that are showing up right now. And so, and not in Manitoba as of yet, but like just thinking about how do we keep doing those things that we've been doing this whole time, like masking and hand washing and all that. And like, don't get tired of hand washing just because it's winter and everything is dry and hand washing is like really causes deep pain. It's like, now's the time to invest in like hand lotion to the max, because we have to keep kind of doing this sort of stuff and see where we can get to. So yeah, it's tricky. Oh, it's so tricky out there. And then my kid, oh my gosh, you guys, yeah. And also, I think the other thing, Levi, I feel like I do really feel like people are doing the best they freaking can. Like, I really do
but that's really it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like, there's moments where we make choices that are not our best, maybe our best choices or our most like community-minded choices. And also, like, sometimes you tell a stranger that you have COVID before you go and buy the booze you need to survive 2 weeks, Like, that's really fucking next level in some ways, even though it's not like my dream scenario as a nurse and somebody who works public health kind of work. But I'm like, I know where he was, like, I can see the logic pathway of what was happening, And so, like, we do the best we fucking can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that's like one of the... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Levi.
Well, I think that's one of the central tenets of like harm reduction philosophy is like you give people as much information as you can to make an informed decision, and then let people make the decision, and you don't have to necessarily always support everyone's decisions 100% of the time, but you have to be able to provide people with the opportunity to make as an informed decision as possible, so that they will make a decision that has less harm on them in the end. And so, like you said, people are struggling, and people are really just, I think, trying the best they can is the best way to sum it up.
And I think we talked about this, maybe it was like months ago now, but in relation to our parents, who are sometimes not always making the decisions that we would necessarily make, with respect to risk, and that we want to make for them because we're scared for them or nervous. I know, like in my mom's case, like sometimes I'm just like, oh, come on, don't do that. Like, why are you like going there or seeing those people? But I also get it. Like, I think she does have lots of information, and she's, making decisions, weighing the circumstances of her life, which is like feeling lonely, feeling isolated, thinking about like her mental health and all kinds of things. And certainly those aren't the decisions I advocate, but you get it. You get where people are and like why they have to make the decisions that they're making. And especially in the context of there being such limited structural supports for people,
yep.
Why we have to lean on each other in ways and connect in ways that may not necessarily comply with the standards that are put out by our government, which also don't consider the varied circumstances and disadvantages of people's lives, right? So I think, you totally get it why people have to make the decisions that they make when, we're not necessarily considered in the public health policy that is put out, right?
Totally. And when survival is wrapped up in connection, like it is very reasonable to be like, my survival through a pandemic depends on connection. Like that's actually been true and like it's been true around physical, like physically connecting with people. It's been true around spiritually, emotionally connecting. Like like that is it's reasonable to act in that way when the request has been to like, to do opposite in many ways. And like and letting that go is really complicated. Like even just think about Christmas, like my mom could not think past a Zoom meeting. Do you know what I mean? Like she was just like, or Zoom dinner, or like the stuff that like doing the things we always do in exactly the same way. Like it felt like a huge loss, like, and a lot of grief wrapped up in that, etc. And like, it wasn't in like, it was really, and I think, I don't totally know, but like before we kind of met in the park and did our thing, like, I think it was wrapped up in like, what the heck can we, like, things are not going to be okay. This is going to be bad, instead of being like, what is the opportunity for it to, and like, that can't shift until you've done a thing and seen what was going to happen, Anyway, so complicated. So I wonder how everybody else managed their freaking goddamn holiday sesh. Are you guys ready to go back to the superpowers question?
Yeah, as long because I'm done with emotions now. Like
that was a lot of feelings. Oh my gosh, I know. Just so everybody knows, freaking Prairie messages me to be like, what level of feelings are we talking about? I saw that you put that in your stories, and I was like, we're always going to talk about feelings, but we're going to keep it a little bit light if we can. So let's move back into like the really important question at hand. We're going to do the superhero question, and then we're going to talk about super gonorrhea. So we're going to talk about all the different superheroes because there's certain things that are important to know that are not always completely COVID related. So does anyone want to go first about superpowers? Oh my gosh, you two. Come on, there's two of you.
I feel like this is a hilarious combo because Levi and I are kind of like naturally introverted, right. Even though we do public things. We're just like, neither of us wants to answer any questions.
You don't have to think of three. Just think of freaking.
I have three. I just want to
go ahead, Levi.
Oh my God, you both have three. You're just like, we don't want to start. Okay, Levi, tell me.
Okay, control the weather, shrink people, and read people's minds.
Okay, I need to know more about these three things. And I'm really, for the record, pretty sure I'm glad that we cannot have these superpowers. But carry on. Okay, first, weather. Control the weather.
Because it's cool. Like, weather is amazing. It's so phenomenal. And also Storm is the best.
So I was just going to say, like, Storm. Like
Storm was my favorite growing up all the time, like in the movies, in the comic books themselves.
Oh my God, Levi, some drag bingo, you guys need to do an X-Men theme or something like that.
Okay, we have really, really tossed around the idea of doing superheroes and supervillains. So we're gonna like, that's gonna be a thing. But you have to give people a lot of lead up because this is serious shit and people don't have lots of stuff. And so if you tell people, okay, we're doing a superhero thing, they have to be able to go full Quinzar on that, or else they're not going to participate.
Have to, because also like that fandom is real life. So
it's real.
Like, the crossover that's going to come, people are going to be like, we do this shit for fucking living, and it's a Comic-Con scenario. So drag queen business has to be on point.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of cross-cultural things there and some norms and stuff that we're definitely would offend people, and people will send us hate mail. But that's usual. Yeah, but so that's why. So Storm, like those those powers are really, really neat.
Okay.
And also, like, just being able to, I don't know, control the weather would be really cool. Also, shrinking people would be really nice because it would just be like, I don't like you right now, and then you just zap them.
Could you, like, oh,
Yeah, but like, it's not permanent. You just like, okay, here, you really need a timeout. So here's your 45 seconds of shrinkage. And just think about how small you are in the world and how shitty your complaints are right now. And then come back to me when you come to real life. So that you just do that. So it would be totally like punitive. That's fine. And then, so reading people's minds, I'm always wavering about like having that kind of power, because when you think about these things, you also, are you able to shut it off? So like being able to shrink people is a thing that you can just turn on and off. Being able to send a bolt of lightning just because you wanted to take a nice picture for Instagram, that's cool. You can just turn it on and off. But if I'm in a mall, I don't want to always be hearing like all of those random weird people's thoughts. Like I don't want to know what normal sounds like. I want to just be able to read the things that I need to do to pick up better.
It did not go well for Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the 90s. I'll tell you that much. This superpower of being able to read minds.
It's
you
dangerous.
need to be able to turn it on like a stereo.
Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have like Jean Grey levels of superpowers, but
she could. I mean, look what happened. She did not like. It was hard for her.
It was hard to turn into the Dark Phoenix. That was
exactly.
Yeah. We got to really think these superpowers through. It's real. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Karen Sharma, do you have some superpowers to talk about?
Gosh. Okay. I feel like I would have superior intelligence if I could have a superpower. That checks out, right? Like that's in line with my personality.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
So that I could like invent any like gadget or gizmo that I need in my pursuit of world domination. Like I would be able to get there.
I don't know. So I'm going to interrupt, but I don't know, like, if you're pursuing world domination and Jarita's pursuing world domination, this is going to be a really deadly battle. So I don't know what side I'm going to have to be on. Jarita's, obviously.
I feel like they just need to go west coast, east coast, like, just like.
That's like, I feel like that's the third movie in our feature film series. It's like the battle between Karen and Jarita.
That's when I shrink myself. I'm just like, God.
I would for sure watch. For sure.
I'll shrink when I know who wins.
Exactly. And express your like undying solidarity. Okay. And I feel like, what would the other ones be? I don't know, like pretty standard ones. I'd love to fly, right? Like time travel. That would be a good one too, right?
Okay.
And I don't think I would mess around with like mind reading. That is a whole world of like eventual mental health issues for me.
Listen, as an emotional empath, I can tell you it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Right? Yeah, like I can't delve into that territory. But I respect that. I do respect it as a choice. And I really I would love like Ant-Man kind of powers, like not shrink other people, but shrink myself and like get into any little situation that I would want to get into. Yeah, so world domination, if that could be its own superpower, I would choose that. But
I'd make it a superpower, Karen. I'd be into it.
So those are my 3 or 10 because I don't play by the rules.
That's okay. Those are good. I feel like I would like maybe super speed might be helpful. Could you imagine if you could like whip through your quilting business, or maybe your quilting is actually about slowing down? I don't really know, but like that might be fun. What?
Yes.
What
would your 3 be?
You went deep.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Always
slowing down.
Always with the feelings.
Just put it out there. You don't even listen. You guys are so lucky you have me. I can't even. My superpowers would for sure be super speed, because I would also probably like some kind of a superpower that allowed me, like, basically I would like to be able to like retain all of the parts of my like ADHD brain that make me so interesting and like good at like just being like, let's try things, see what happens. But I would also like some kind of like super organizational power, or maybe in fact I would just have like the power to like make money, and then I would just hire somebody to do that part for me. I'm not really sure. Something like that. And then what else would there be? Super speed. I wouldn't mind super strength, to be honest. Like I really feel like I have like the body to be powerlifting shit. And I would like to be able to like power lift on my like index finger, you know what I mean? Like that would be pretty boss. So that's probably
yeah, super strength is a good one.
Yeah.
For sure.
My kid listens to this debate show where it's like either or, and there was a debate between super strength and super speed. And it was like a real toss up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the debate shows. So good. All right. Shall we pop? Perhaps people who are still listening to us prattle on would like to put their superpowers into the comments, because I'm also interested. And perhaps you have superpowers that are even more engaging that I would like to steal for my answer for the future. And let's maybe talk about this freaking like gonorrhea resistant or antibiotic resistant gonorrhea situation, Levi.
That's all I did is I saw that article and I was like, oh, this is fun. It's a new one I can catch.
Listen.
Yeah. But it's kind of scary. Like you don't want in the middle of a pandemic, you don't want any STDVIs to be like, oh hey, we're just mutating now. Have a good time with this.
And I mean, gonorrhea was on its way to like there's resistant strains of gonorrhea. That is not a new thing, but it is like, I do think like we are like, I just think about all of the, like, I think about like sexual health in particular and like all the hilarious things that we have concocted to be able to get laid. And also thinking about all the stuff that we haven't been tending to for a year. Like, the truth, like people are still like syphilis is still an epidemic in Manitoba, and let me tell you how that is bananas, because we're testing less. Like we're not testing more during this pandemic, and we still have lots of syphilis kicking around out there. So things like that, like, so we should, like things you would expect to see less of, because people are not accessing testing in the same way. As people are still out there like living their best lives and getting laid, which is wonderful. And also thinking about we just have not been able to tend to all of the things that we need to tend to, like, and I think about all of the, like the surgeries that got like interrupted, and like, just like a hard thing to kind of like, there's a lot of stuff that people are dealing with that is not COVID related. Like I just always, like when you're talking about Karen, about like, we're all just like, all of our regular life stuff is bigger in this moment in time because it's just made more difficult, And so I always think about all of that. And also I want everyone to be getting laid as much as humanly possible, even through an apocalypse, because really, truly, please have sex if you can. And want to, of course. But like, frick, I don't want anyone to get a gonorrhea resistant bacteria, like that is not a pleasant moment in time.
It's just really, I don't really have much to add. Oh, did I freeze?
No, you're good.
So my computer's a piece of crap, and it'll often just freeze on me, and I won't know. I was doing this presentation for these like these med students, and I went on this wonderful like thing for 5 minutes, and I got a text message, and they're like, "We lost you," and I was like, "Cool, you're not getting that back." I'm sorry. That's just technology. No, I think, yeah, you're right. And Marsha had mentioned that too in previous episodes. Like, there's still so much stuff that's happening that people aren't doing. I was listening to this radio, but like, no, and people are still having sex, but there's still lots of syphilis happening, and there's still the opioid stuff that's all happening, and then there's all these different things. And I think about one of the things that I really am interested in and have been trying to keep an eye on when I can or delve into it is like the way that informal economies have like, what did they do to maintain, and like what kinds of things, because we know that a lot of times people are using sex to be able to barter things like shelter or maybe supplies or whatever like that. But that's also not a thing that people are forthright in talking about. And so I'm always really curious and to know how that's operating right now, especially when we know things like when we're seeing decline in like shelter usage, or we're seeing decline in, and people aren't as visibly on the street anymore. So where are they? Because we know that we do know that there's the encampments, and that those things are happening and people are building community that way, but it's like we're not actually treating those things in a serious way like we should be. Does that make sense? Like we should actually be just figuring out like, hey, what is happening here in this community, and how can we best support it? Like, and I'm guilty of this, of not like building any kind of meaningful relationship with those communities, but I also don't want to be intrusive, right? I don't want to go in there and be like, hey, here's all these things that I think you might need. I just kind of want those communities to be able to thrive on their own in the best ways that we can. But I also but the inside of me, I'm still like, what's happening? How is this sustaining? But again, maybe that's just
but Levi, that's the
privilege I don't need to know, right?
Totally. And also that's what Karen was talking about like without like structural support, because like it's true, like it is intrusive to be like one-off going in. But if there was adequate structural support, like if it was a situation where we could be like, oh, there's a whole bunch of people who want to live in community, get high, and like live their best lives in that way, then, and here's a building, or here's a place to stay that doesn't require you to move in the winter, or whatever is going on, or like here's a space for people who like want to live, like we do this in all kinds of other ways, but we can't seem to get our heads around it in the, like, I don't know, I just feel like if there's like if we had like if there actually like there's enough for everyone, do you know what I don't know, I believe that. And so I feel like people get to be where they want to be. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or am I missing it?
It is sort of what I'm talking about. But the other part of it is that we actually do have systems in place. Like we do have systems that have been built for some of these things, to address some of these things.
I know, but a lot of it is strings attached.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, but they were utilized in the past.
It's true. Yeah.
So they were utilized in the past, and they were utilized in greater numbers in the past. And so those systems did what they can to kind of build those things up, given the limited amount of resources that are allocated to these types of things. However, what we're seeing now, and I could be completely off again, but what we're seeing now is that we're seeing that there's a greater appeal to be put in what most of us would say would be like a riskier situation, but there's still an element of community there that is operating, and it's operating in a way that I don't think we fully understand as outsiders, because a lot of the things that people typically would have done to make money, to survive, to do all of those things aren't actually accessible. So of course, what Karen had mentioned earlier, that's key. And I'm not saying, oh no, let's just
it's not the same thing.
What I'm saying is there's so much opportunity here to be actually learning a lot about how we, and myself specifically as like a community organization, how I'm missing the mark in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And
what is it that we're missing? And you're right, some of it might be we're missing strings, like a lot of stuff is strings attached. But at the end of it, like I'm just really curious to know how those things operate. So there's two parts here.
And it's reasonable. It can be at both ends scenario, because we want to know where the spots that, like, where is actually helpful, like what is actually meaningful for people that we're doing,
and what has caused the loss, like what, or not even loss.
Like why has it changed?
I just want to know kind of what the gap is. What's the or the shift, or is it just conjecture? Am I just dreaming?
It's so hard to know, hey?
Well, I sort of wonder, and I mean, this is conjecture, and it's certainly not based on any real analysis. And I'd love to hear from folks who work in community who might have better insight. But I wonder if, in part, and this sort of touches on what you were saying, Margaret, but a lot of the supports that are out there have become so structured and, so like rule bound, in part to control COVID, right? But have become really rule bound and aren't really, can't meet people where they're at right now, in the ways that they need to be met, whether that's in ways that recognize the importance of communal living or communal living as a strategy for survival, or in ways that recognize that access to drugs and other substances might be important for people. And so whether it's in shelters or other isolation units or other places of transitional living right now, like that has to be considered. Like all of those kinds of places have become, even I imagine, even harder to access, depending on where you're at. And so I sort of wonder if COVID hasn't messed with access in some of those ways, just because of how tightly enforced certain rules are and requirements are. Yeah.
And also just a little bit unpredictable, like there's a lot of predictability in how people knew what to expect from different places that I think folks were accessing. And it is unpredictable. Like you show up to an isolation center and it is like a surprise to find that there might be somebody there who's going to prescribe morphine for you for your stay. Like we're doing some safe supply work out in the community that is unpredictable. And that is that is for sure for the folks that I know who've been in there. They're like, well, thank goodness that's an option for me. But all of those kinds of things are just uncertain in a lot of ways. And you don't know what to expect. And I personally do not like change. And I personally like to know what is going to happen to me. That is just my nature. And so I don't know if that sort of question mark of what's going to happen is a part of it too. It is for me. I don't want to do anything that feels not exactly the thing that is providing comfort in the moment. It's really hard for me to do a different thing. Anyway, I don't know. Okay, it is 7:52 p.m. What are you guys doing on New Year's Eve? Anything?
Not a lot to say. I've been sworn to secrecy.
That's bullshit, man. That's bullshit.
Okay, I feel like it's happening. There's a QPOC Bannock Babes event that's in the works and it's happening. Go to the QPOC page and just vote on the poll of whether you would come to such an event. Not come to such an event. It's going to be virtual, obviously, but whether you would log on to such an event, because I think we're a little worried. Are people tapped out in terms of technology and connecting with community this way? But yeah, our plan, our hope is that you would want to come to such an event, and then we would offer that event to you in conjunction with Bannock Babes. So there will be music, there will be drag, it will be fantastic. Go to QPOC and
oh my gosh,
QPOC Winnipeg's Instagram and you'll find out more.
Behind the scenes, Jude is head to QPOC Winnipeg social media to vote on event ideas.
This is so professional.
That's so professional. Oh my gosh. Anyways, QPOC is thinking about doing, and Bannock Babes, somebody's asked this question, are doing a New Year's Eve online kind of event. I will say for the record that I just bought a lot of alcohol, so I for sure am game. And I also should say that there's also that Red Rising event at New Year's too. So they're doing a issue release, and it's the matriarch issue, and so there's basically a bajillion people who are so brilliant who are going to be speaking and doing this online concert launch. So you guys should go check that out as well. That's a 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for those of us who have a bedtime. And then and then you can go and see what's up with these guys, with K-pop and Vanity. Anything else you guys want to add before we hit the road ski tonight?
Can you stream on with Zoom? Can you stream on other mediums?
On YouTube, you can.
You can YouTube it in.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you have the right account. So I had to step up my Zoom game for work this year. So I have a webinar account. So I don't know if that is the same as meetings, but somebody with other skills. But look at how Jude can even put down like posts at the bottom of our session. So surely they would be able to sort something of that ilk out. The millennials know. Listen, we are like, I don't know. You guys aren't in your 40s yet, are you? Are you in your 40s?
Almost.
They're close. I'm 42. So like we are, you know what? We are ironic and simple and charming and gorgeous. What did you just say? What did you just say?
Nothing, just a little ageism for Tuesday night. That's all.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Listen. So we can just rely on the millennials to help us that. John, oh, look it. Never mind the millennials. My freaking 40-year-old brother was like, what about Twitch, girl? So I don't know what Twitch is, but that is the advice of the people.
I did an event on Twitch, but I don't even know what it is.
It's something.
Cool.
Okay.
Great.
You know what? We have other gifts, motherfuckers, and that's the bottom line. We have other gifts. Yes, there's a way. The people want to meet online. I feel like people are also like just like really, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say people. Listen, I'm desperate for queers in my life because the other challenge of COVID is that I only see straight people. And so I actually really want to I really want to do anything gay at this point. And so like I want to be around queer people. I want to talk about queer shit. I want to be kind of like an asshole and bitchy. And I want to be
so we could do like a shared custody thing, so I could give you Feather on weeks you don't have Georgia.
Yeah. Oh my God. Crazy.
Then you can have a gay person.
Feather would be like, bye, bitch.
Aw, family. So cute.
She's great.
Oh my God. All right.
So that's what I'm doing New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys all have a thing happening.
I might be helping with that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Also, Jude says with StreamYard, we can actually stream to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, etc. at the same time. See, I told you.
No, that's actually why I was asking. So maybe
You guys, this is a good example of why intergenerational relationships are so important. So I just want to thank all of you for all of your skills, and hopefully you will continue on as I age and have only one child to care for me in my aged moment in time. All of you people 10 years younger than me, I hope you bring me tea and make sure that I'm eating more than toast.
Okay, do you folks have New Year's resolutions? Like, what's your deal? This is the last COVID Convos before we're into 2021. I can't believe it.
I love a New Year's resolution. I don't always love them on New Year's.
That actually doesn't shock me. Yeah.
I don't love New Year's. I don't love whatever, but I do like being like setting some intention. I'm like into that. Like I'm not into like fat phobic diet bullshit. I'm not into like capitalism switching gears from like spend all your money in December to like stop buying things for other people and spend money on losing weight because you ate too many shortbread. Like I'm not here for that. But I am here for setting intention, and like it's also full moon in Cancer, and so that is all about feelings, you guys. I'm telling you what it's about. Don't make your question mark faces. I'm telling you, it's about feelings. And I listened to somebody today talk about, because Cancers also like carry their homes on their backs, and it's about figuring out how to feel at home anywhere you are. And listen, that is an important teaching for me because I am like in a major transition in my life, like big time. It feels big. And figuring out with all of like partners and relationships changing and like my family shifting. So I'm like, I actually do feel like setting an intention to be like practicing to feel at home in myself wherever I am is like probably what I would do. So there.
Great. So, but you never answered your own question. You didn't tell us what your what your like New Year's resolution is
That's
going
my
to be.
fucking New Year's resolution. My New Year's resolution is to be like, do shit for myself, to feel like I am a safe place at home. Like I can be at home within myself, wherever I am, whether I'm with people or not, because I do not like to be alone. But I'm learning some things about why it might be useful to just like find a like chill the fuck out a little bit about it. That's my 2 cents.
Cool.
All right.
Levi, do you have a New Year's resolution?
No. See, but I was just gonna say to Maggie, I was like, so don't in the future, don't lead with the horoscope talk, because then I shut off and then I don't actually listen, and I tune in back in and I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that typical everyone?
I've had a long day, okay? This has been a long week.
It's fine. Oh my gosh, it's fine. Oh my God.
But I actually, no, I do not have, I don't have a New Year's resolution not because I'm 100% opposed to it. I like what Maggie said about how it makes you kind of intentional about the year and makes you think. I do spend a lot of my time in this period where I reflect on what happened in the previous year. And I do that more as I get older. But that's actually a habit I started when I was in university, because in university, all 3 times that I went, you did have this kind of period where you could really, really slow down and you could think about how you were going to approach the next semester. So that's kind of, I still maintain that. But I don't think that I don't think based on what happened this year, I don't think I want to set anything for next year, because the one thing I set last year, or for 2020, because I was going to make 20 outfits in 2020, that was going to be my thing. So I got 4 in, and then COVID happened, and then I was like, well, this sucks. And I didn't want to use my studio as much, because like it's a shared space and I wanted people who needed the space to use it more. And I wasn't doing drag, and I wasn't sure what my like reign was going to be as Miss Club 200. And so like, I felt really deflated in that whole part of my life, and I still do. So I don't want to actually make anything that's going to lead to more disappointment in the next year. So, and that's a really negative take on it. But that's just kind of how it is. Like, I have to spend all my time trying to be positive all the time for a lot of other folks. And so I don't want to set myself up for eventual disappointment. I'm just going to keep this bar real low, and I'm just going to keep looking at it. That's going to be my resolution.
I also think like that makes sense, and especially the reflecting back. And there has been so much grief and loss in so many different ways, and also it like making some space for that makes sense. And one thing we've all had to learn is not to plan goddamn things. So fair enough. That seems very reasonable. What about you, Karen? Do you do it? What do you do?
I don't usually, but I will say I was sort of in a similar space, Levi. I started DJing in 2019, Pride of 2019. And so like for 2020, I thought, well, I'm going to get like better at this and like really commit to this and try to like play at least a few times a month. And then COVID hit, and like the year started off great, and I was playing a lot. I was like having a great time and building on my skills, but like the pandemic hit and everything has dried up, and I've like barely touched my controller. And so I think going into 2021, I'm just gonna like try not to have many expectations of myself, like in terms of like where I should be at or what skills I should gain, and just like kind of give myself up a little bit to whatever's going to happen. But I will say that 2020 has like had me lean in real hard to one of my worst qualities, which is to like hermit at home and not ever talk to anybody. So I am going to try to make like a concerted effort not to lose every friendship I have in 2021 by like never picking up my phone, because I could go days without ever checking my telephone. And so like maintaining and picking up on relationships that have been interrupted by COVID is going to be a real goal of mine in 2021. And like putting some concerted effort in to not just like be in my own head and at my sewing machine or at work all of the time, but actually investing in those relationships and investing in community, because it's easy to do that when we're at Club 200 and like seeing each other physically. It's very challenging to do that when those relationships have to be by like telephone or text or social media. It's just not something that comes as naturally to me. So figuring that out and keeping those ties alive will be something I'm going to try to do in 2021. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and listen, like, I feel like I survived COVID because we see each other here every week or every 2 weeks. Like, I am so grateful to everyone that tunes in, and I'm so grateful to all of the folks who like come in and do this. I always feel like I'm always like, oh, it's COVID Convo today, and then I sit down and see you guys, and I'm like, oh, I actually I love you guys, and so it's like it makes a big difference in my life. Like, that's the thing I'm the most grateful for this entire year, is being able to like stay connected to queers and like people that I love and respect, and also being able to like come up with romance glass ideas and talk about shit like that. And it's the best. It's okay, you guys don't have to say either. Karen and I feel exactly the same as me, everybody. Just so you know, it's fine.
I totally agree. I 100% agree. That's why I made you guys quilts, because I love you so much. And I feel like you brought me a lot of warmth and comfort during a really like low year. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to pay that like back a little bit to you all, because I do feel like, you know, as much as this was about talking about COVID and like thinking about the impact of COVID in our communities, it was also about like the four of us, our little survival through COVID, and like using each other to get through this time and modeling that, I guess, for other folks. Like, how are we doing it? Yeah.
So hot Nestle modeling,
yeah,
like whatever.
100%. This is not clean, good, clean ways of getting through it. But yeah, absolutely. Like, I totally agree. Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Yeah, well, we've got. Sorry, go ahead.
I 100% agree, and I've also really appreciated COVID Convos, and like I appreciate all you folks for that reason too. Also because you're my only social contacts that I wasn't born into, or that I'm not paid to interact with. So that's where I'm at in this. All my friends work in Sunshine House, and the only other people that I talk to are my family, and but those are like, that's really all I've seen. That's pretty much all I've seen, other than that brief moment in the summer when we were doing the odd show here and there. And even those were really sparsely attended. And it seems like so long ago. It was, but this has really, really helped me in a lot of ways, just kind of maintain a level of connection outside of outside of those things, and make me feel connected. And it's very humbling, and it's a grounding experience, and it's been really lovely. So I appreciate this year for a lot of selfish reasons. This thing here for this year.
All right, everybody. So thank you all for tuning in to us all year, and then we'll see you all next year, and hopefully 2021 we can all hug again. Well, for me, that's an important thing for me. So not everyone appreciates that, but listen, Marsha and I will be available to hug.
I'm just gonna hide in my hair.
As needed. Levi can do what they need to do. It'll be fine. Anyways, we're gonna call it done tonight. I hope you all enjoyed listening to us ramble on, and I hope you have a wonderful few days and get a chance to think about whatever you need to think about to get through the moment. And I think that's it. Okay. Cool.
Bye.